Welcome to Angels Don't Lie with Jeannie Street. Jeannie is a God-based medium, owner of In Spirit Healing Studio, and new author of the book The Goddess You. Angels Don't Lie will be a show dedicated to healing and love, and we will be taking live questions. If you have a question you would like Jeannie to answer on the show, or if you would like to contact her, send your correspondence to jeannie@jeanniestreet.com or check out the website jeanniestreet.com. Now here's Jeannie Street.
I let the world on wake up. Trouble is I never went to sleep. I climbed the nightmares in the mountains in my dreams. Oh Lord, won't you get me back with me?
Hello and welcome to Angels Don't Lie. I'm Jeannie Street, your host here on KBJB Radio. I'm excited to be back with you this week. And tonight we are going to talk about our spiritual truths and living in soul alignment and what that exactly means. So I'm so glad that you could join us. And tonight we're going to take only email questions because I am out of town, and we are going to answer the email questions coming from last week's show on this week's show, and then I will answer phone calls and emails next week. So if you have a question or a topic you'd like to talk about, please send me an email at jeannie@jeanniestreet.com, and I will get to those questions next week. So last week we had a great show. I was really happy to have Glenn on the show, and we talked a lot about what it means to be spiritual and to be in our own alignment and to be one with God. And I thought it was a really powerful show for a lot of reasons, for many reasons, because we talked about how to recognize God in another person, how to recognize that there's no separation from us to the neighbor, to the person next to us. And I think this is an important thing to talk about, especially with so much energy and so much anger going on in our world today and in our country. People are spewing still about the election. They're still angry about, their opinions and why it matters what they have to say. And it's really sad because it's a form of bullying, number one. And it's also a disconnection from love. It's a disconnection from seeing ourselves and the person that's in front of us. And where fear lives, fear grows. And what that means is God has shown us that we are to love ourselves and love our neighbor as ourselves. We are supposed to honor each other. And when we do not, that fear, that judgment, that anger, that becomes a real thing. That becomes the darkness that lives in between and separates us from the divine. That grows into a darkness that becomes evil, that can grow and fester into really horrific things. And we've seen those things in war, in mass shootings, and really bad behaviors, and overshadowed. That fear can really darken and cause depression, great anxiety. But where there is light, where there is love, there is power. So the power is within our choice, within our ability to see that prayers are answered, that the power is in our praying, not over voicing our anger, resentment, and judgment. Our power is best heard in the form of those prayers of surrendering and asking for guidance. And at times, my friends, our prayers are answers, and we don't always like those answers. That's the hard fact. God knows what's best for us. So seeing that light, understanding that we are here for a greater purpose. It's not just self-serving. It's not just to feed our own egos. We are here to change time. We are here to grow love. We are here to expand our ability to see just in the here and now. So I ask you to take a moment to reflect on your self-love. Because if you aren't loving yourself, then you can't love thy neighbor. Then you can't see another without judgment. Those who cast the first stones, usually have the most work to do. So let's take a moment, let's clean up our inventory of our lives, and let's see where can we invite love in. We're all human, so we've all gone down this path. No one is alone in that tone. But again, we have a choice. We can learn to be better. We can learn and evolve to grow in a spiritual well-being, the well-being that God has a plan, and we can be divinely guided if we so choose. So tonight's show is going to be dedicated to taking a look back and going over this topic of how to live in self-love, how to see each other, how to stop the judgment from continuing on, how to be the change that is needed in the world, how to be the light where there is dark. I think it's always honorable when we extend a love forward to a person, maybe a family member or a stranger. Maybe we pay for someone at Dunkin' Donuts at the drive-thru, or we give to charities. But we find it hard sometimes to give where we're challenged, and that means sometimes to give into what we believe is right, or letting down our ego to say, maybe I can choose to see that this interaction is happening for my benefit, for my well-being, for growth, that these things are happening around me, so I can choose to see that there is a possibility that love can enter. I mean, let's face it, we've been at war for thousands and thousands of years, fighting over religious beliefs, fighting over political views, fighting over what? Fighting over what? Where's the line in the sand for you? Where's the line in the sand for me? The line in the sand for me is that I choose to see love. I choose to see this opportunity to say, hey, here's a person in front of me that might not be my ideal favorite person, but I can see a reflection of myself in him. I can see that I always haven't been the best of me, but I can pray for this person. I have the ability to invite God in. I have the ability to call on the angels. I have the ability to change my thoughts from fear to love. I can spread love. It's just the same as spreading love to a stranger, as donating, as being charitable. That's what it is to be of service, to call upon yourself to be better than what you're being. So I'd love to challenge you on a little journal assignment this week. I love journal assignment because journaling keeps us busy. It keeps our mind from chattering and our ego from manipulating our time. It actually opens up centers, areas of our brain that we're not using. So it's scientifically proven to be this most amazing tool, like meditating. It opens up that inner guidance, that connection to spirit, the truth. So I ask you to journal. Where is the love in your life? How do you see yourself? Go ahead, write it down. Maybe make it a letter. Write it to God and say, Dear God, I see myself as... And notice all the places that you can invite love in. Reflect on this for an entire week, and I promise you will see things differently. I promise you that you will be able to invite love in where that fearful thought is taking you over, that maybe you're not having the right job, or you're not good enough, or this divorce is going to be the end of you, or the relationship is never going to come and Prince Charming's not waiting for you, or you'll never be able to get over losing your loved one. But when you start reflecting on self-love, when you start seeing yourself as God sees you, you will see that you have the power to create a life worth living. And that is my promise to you, my friend. So, what else are we going to talk about tonight? Besides you. Well, let's take a short break and we will get back to this discussion of you in just a minute on Angels Don't Lie. Welcome back to Angels Don't Lie. I'm Jeannie Street, your host here on KBJB Radio. So we were talking about self-love and living in soul alignment and really being an awesome spiritual light for other people. And how can you do that? How can you rock your groovy goddess self and live in soul alignment? And the first step we've talked about is self-love. Self-love is the only pathway to uncovering and rocking that awesome goddess you. And in doing so, you let go of that fearful ego schmigo guy who wants to keep you living in a self-righteous old pattern of living in the past stories and a backwards view. I want you living in that forwards view, like we talked about in the past, forward where love is. Remember the meditation we did where we closed our eyes, we took a deep breath in, and we thought of a symbol of love. That symbol is your connection to your self-love. Every time fear sneaks its little angry self back in or judgment tone back in, you have that weapon. That's your arsenal, your self-love. That symbol of love reminds you of who you are, of your strength, of your oneness with the divine and other people. And in learning to do so, we see that people are brought into our lives to teach us, to help us learn about ourselves. Situations that are hard challenge us to see another side, to see the lesson as a greater good. Yes, these lessons can be really hard. They can make us cry, kick and scream, and really be a brat. But when we really work with it through a love tone rather than, why me, or why this, or I don't want to do this, and we close it off, when we invite it in and we let those feelings just flood through us, well, that's when the magic happens, because we ask love to guide. We ask love to lead, and then we can see the brightness. We can see that it releases a part of that frustration or that fear that's lived inside of us. It's like that onion we talked about, that onion of healing. Each time you heal, there's another layer underneath waiting to be healed. And sometimes they're going to make you cry. Sometimes they're going to be sweet. Sometimes they're going to take your breath away. So in your moments of your lessons, you get to choose. Is now the time I'm going to choose to do it with love? Is now the time that I'm going to ask God to divinely guide me rather than me guide myself? So surrender. That's a beautiful thing. So I've been working on the connection again. I'm away, and when I'm away, I always love to work on my meditation and my yoga and really get, back connected, not only with my husband, because we're, both lead busy lives, but also with myself, with that inner tone. Because let's face it, we get out of touch due to, life and work and social media and news. We lose touch with that inner tone. So I've been working in this lovely tone of reconnection and listening to myself. And I've been really busy lately with opening a new business and even growing my personal clients and the book and the launch. And what I've lost was really the divine connection to like my soul truth and the work that I'm doing. I got lost in promoting just the business and not working on releasing what Spirit has taught me and guiding and allowing those words to find their way out, which is so important. And that's why I love this radio show, because it's a way that I can allow Spirit to work through me, whether it's through a call or whether it's through a topic we're talking about. All of these things are so important, and angels, they just come through so effortlessly when I let go. And I'm sure that you all have experience of how Spirit speaks to you, how your loved ones or how signs will come through. intuitively. And it's when we let go. Sometimes it's through dreams, because when we sleep, it's the most calm, awesome time for spirit to speak to us. But it can be done in that meditation, in that quiet time, in that time that we surrender to just being with ourselves. I love to do this. I think it's so amazing, like to take myself to lunch or to just spend time quietly alone, writing and, just maybe journaling, or maybe, channeling a new blog post, because this is when spirit really works through me. And I feel like I'm at my highest and best good. It's when I feel like I can be of the most service. So I'd like you to try with your journal exercise this week. I'd like you to try to meditate every day before you do your journaling. I want you to take a time to really breathe in. It could take just 10 minutes, really, just to take a nice deep breath in, get centered, allow the breath to keep you nice and calm, and then slowly begin your journal exercise then. This will allow you to really get the journal and the meditation going, so you can discover that self-love. And then we can move on next week to the next step, and I'll uncover your next exercise for living in your groovy goddess soul self. So I want to go ahead and take an email question. And I just got one in from Kathy. And she wrote, okay, if you've ever feel negative energy, what should you do? Kathy, this is a great question, especially since we were just talking about the lower energy that has been going around and around, not only in the news and social media sites, just even out to dinner, people have been chatting it up. I've overheard some conversation at the airport, and people are just, in this angry, low vibrational tone. And when I say low vibrational tone, this is that negative energy. This is that tone that love is absent, that fear is winning. And what can you do in order to have this stop? What do we have the power over? Well, our real power is not through just our voice, but through our prayer and how we choose to use our voice, using it in the most positive way. So that negative energy can be combat with your prayers, with your connection to the divine, with calling in angelic guidance, with calling in help, with cleaning up your own energy. And we've talked about this before in the show, about how to really take your energy and be aware of it. Be very aware, acutely aware of what you're posting on social media, of what you're watching on TV, of the news you're paying attention to. While it is important to be in tune and know what's going on in the world, and to make your decisions to rightfully research and know, but it's another thing to take those energies and let them become you, so you become opinionated and closed off to truth, to love, to divine guidance. So I love a salt bath for that, or a salt scrub shower, because salt purifies your energy. It allows you to get back into your own tone. That, along with the meditation and journaling, sister, you got the best medicine ever. And I'm not kidding you on that. So try those things out and see how they work for you. And I bet you, Kathy, you're going to see a huge change in how you think and feel when somebody's bringing their negative crap towards you. All right, we got another question in from Judy. And Judy writes, how do a lot of people see signs? Well, that's a good question, Judy, because we all do get signs, and sometimes we're aware of the signs and sometimes we are not. And being open to receiving and being in a positive frame of mind really helps us. But when we are closed off and we're letting grief kind of close us off, and grief for me always is really tight on the chest, so a lot of people carry their grief in that area, and so they'll get neck pains and really shut off because their hearts are in pain, so they'll close this area off, and it energetically will be really hard to maneuver through. So working on cleaning this area up through prayer, through meditation, and through the cleansing tools, even using the salt, and really releasing, allowing the crying to come out, allowing your feelings to come out, letting go of the whys, and then going back to the love. You will be able to see your signs, and the signs are unmistakable. They're very clear. Spirit speaks to me in signs of many things, whether it's a bird, owls. I see owls all the time. I'll see butterflies for specific things. Numbers are a great way that my angels and loved ones connect with me as well. There's always had this connection with numbers, although I was really terrible with math, but I've always had a connection with numbers, of memorizing numbers and sequences. So that's a great way that my loved ones connect. I love birds. A lot of people will get pennies or quarters, and they'll get little signs. Even hearing their loved ones whisper or float by, getting the goosebumps up the back of your neck, those are all signs that our loved one is always with us. So I hope that helps you. And we're going to take a short break, and we will be back in just a few minutes. And I'm Jeannie Street, your host, here on KBJB Radio, and angels don't lie, my friends. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back. I'm Jeannie Street, your host, and this is Angels Don't Lie on KBJB Radio. So you may be wondering where I got the title for the show, Angels Don't Lie. And I want to share this with you because I think it fits in with our whole discussion tonight of self-love and living in soul alignment, and those truth and signs from our loved ones and angels, and how to recognize them. All of those components are important, and where this title came from. So in my own self-discovery and my own awakening to my beautiful gift and living in my soul alignment, I started to notice my signs. And like I said, I saw different things came to me. Animals would come, whether it was a bird or owls, and owls very specific for me. I see it all the time, especially when I'm on my path. Owl will let me know that yes, this is the right thing for you. Owl will remind me to use a higher view, to use a 360 view, so I don't always stay in the situation and look at the negative tone, because we're human. I'm human, and I will gravitate towards that human side and want to be like, no freaking way. And so Owl will come across and say, slow down, take time, reflect, use that 360 degree view to see all sides, to see your part in the situation, to see where you can manifest love instead of fear. So that's a beautiful thing. So in doing all of that, uncovering and working in my alignment, eating right and meditating and journaling, those were the things that kept coming and that helped me open up to see my signs. So when your angels and loved ones want to connect with you, the more acutely aware you are of your body, of your love tone over your fear, is when you will notice those signs, is when you will undoubtedly know for sure that you are on the right path. And of course, this is not, rocket science, and it doesn't just, require a degree. Anybody can do this. You can do this. You can pay attention. You can slow yourself down so that you can find your guidance, feel that intuition, and rock out your groovy goddess soul self. So that fear that creeps in, that's going to keep you from seeing those truths, or it's going to have you second guess. That's not a sign. That's just a common, cardinal. That everybody sees cardinals. Well, in fact, no. It's not always common for a cardinal to show itself or to sit right in front of the window. That's really, a loved one coming through, or a butterfly to be flying across a highway. It's not a common thing that's going to happen. These are signs, and when you treat them as such, that's how Spirit is going to talk to you. So on the show title, let's get back to that. I got a little off topic. As I started to work in this alignment and started to see clients, what truth I knew deep down within me, it just came through. These messages were so clear that no matter what, without any doubt, I knew that they were true. even though maybe the person that I was reading didn't understand them at the time, they would always eventually come back around and say a week later, hey, you were right. This is, my mom did have this cameo necklace, or hey, you were right. The number 5 was important. I didn't realize that, my dad died on the 5th, or it always just comes around. And so that's where my truth came out, that angels don't lie. They give me the message and I am just the deliverer. I just interpret and give it to you. So there's nothing else there. It's all truth. So if something comes through for you in a reading and you're unsure, no matter who you're going to, write it down, because I guarantee it will come back around and you will remember. Because my friend, angels don't lie. So when I first started to open up and understand that I had a gift, it took me a long time. I was really shy, and I actually had, so this is a funny story. Let me back up a little bit. I actually had a little shoe store in my local downtown, and I had this woman come in and she asked me if I did readings, and I was like, I don't do readings. And I remember after she left, I looked at my cousin, I was like, who the fucking lady? What's she talking about? Do I do readings? But I thought about it afterwards and I was like, what? Why would somebody ask me that? Like, I didn't even put it out there that I was spiritually connected. I was hiding all the time. But this woman, Spirit put in front of me to teach me a lesson, to show me that it was okay to come out. It was okay to stand forward. It was okay to say, yes, I have this knowing, I have this gift, and it's unique, it's different, and I'm not like all the other kids. I was never like all the other kids. So fitting in was always hard for me. It was always a struggle. Even as an adult, I would try to fit in with people, and it just never worked. It just never worked the right way. So now I let go of all that pretense. Now I let go of all that past yuckiness, and I just am who I am, and I embrace it, and I love it, and I allow Spirit to work through me and to be of service for God, to be that voice for others, to be that person that can guide, sometimes firmly and sometimes gently, depending on what Spirit shows me. So I just let it go. I let my tone quiet down, and I allow the energy just to move through me. So this awakening that happened, it took several years. It took time, it took dedication, and it took commitment to quiet my mind, to do my work, right? So anything that's worth anything, it's going to take our commitment. It's a value, right? To be the best that we can be. So it requires your full attention. It requires you to pay attention to small signs, to close off those relationships that are toxic or those behaviors that are hurting you, and to live with love forward. And like we talked about in the earlier part of the show, when we're judgmental, when we're angry, when we're anxious, when we're fearful, when we're throwing our opinions out in the air in energy form, then we are not living in our true form. We are fear-based people that are creating more and more fear. And what happens with fear? What does God tell me? What does Spirit show me in that fearful tone, right? So love is God. Love is divine. Fear is the opposite of love. And the opposite of love grows into a darkness. And that darkness, my friends, becomes the evil. That becomes the thing that changes the good to the bad to the downright evil. So your fearful thoughts are creating this wall. Other people that keep spewing these anger and these stories round and round and round are creating the mass of low energy. So it's requiring so many people to step forward in their light, in their truth, to become these workers, these lighthouses of energy, to change the tone. We can be simplistic people and still have a value of helping our humankind, to change the world, to change the energy. It's the truth. So you have the power. So in opening up, to open up to your messages, to live in your groovy goddess soul alignment, there are steps, there are tools, and I'm going to share them with you each week we're here in the show and in my book. It's a step-by-step guide, 12 steps, simple, easy to follow, so you can rock it out, so you can learn to listen to your intuitive side. Hey, you can very easily be getting messages that you're just ignoring, because it happens. It happened to me. And I don't want that to happen to you. I want you to live in an amazing, productive, loving, free, flowing life, rocking out your groovy goddess self. All right, let's go back to the email questions. And Heather, she says, if you can't put yourself in alignment, should you go to someone who can? Well, that's an interesting question, Heather, because an alignment is actually really something that we do for ourselves and how we move into the energy. But sometimes we do get blocked by fear and things that happen in life, and we can't move past them, so we can't get to our alignment. So a spiritual healer would be the perfect person, somebody that's a God-based person that can gently give you the guidance and the spiritual insight to lead yourself into that alignment, to give you the tools you need. But a person can't do that for you. No healing can be done without your permission. So you have to be in partnership with this healer. You have to participate in it, right? You have to do the work, the down and dirty work. This person, like myself, I can only give the information. If you're not going to take it and use it, well, then it's left until you choose to use it or not, or until you go to another person. So yes, if you want to go to another person for alignment, absolutely. But no, sister, you better be ready to put your work gloves on and get the work done. Absolutely. It's a great question. And I think we're going to take another short break here on Angels Don't Lie with me, Jeannie Street, your host, on KBJB Radio. Hey, welcome back to Angels Don't Lie. Hey, have you guys listened to the Warp View here on KBJB Radio? You're going to want to check it out because it's an awesome show. All right, so let's get back into our conversations about energy and self-love. And we've had some great stuff going on tonight. And I just got another email in over the break. And Colleen wrote in, she said, what do you do about holiday stress and staying balanced? And I think this is a perfect question coming in at the perfect time, because this week is the beginning of December, and we all know that holiday rush is going to come upon us. We're leaving that Thanksgiving, that grateful gratitude time, and now we're getting into the hectic. We better hurry up and get our shopping and what's for dinner and who's on first and all of that stuff that can really lose the focus on the connection of the moment of being in the day, right? So we project ahead rather than staying in the day. So during the holiday season, if you can challenge yourself to stay in your day, stay in your moment, try not to get to the day ahead or to, the event itself, whether it's Hanukkah or Christmas or whatever religion or celebration you're having. To stay in this moment of the day will really help you to release anxiety, release the stress, and stay focused on being in your breath, being in your body, and moving through the day with grace and love. So try that out. And I know it's hard. I love to keep my journal in my pocketbook, especially during crazy times, because I can just grab it out and I can just jot myself a little note like, hey sister, you better calm the down because your it's not looking so pretty right now. So just write myself this little note, and I remind myself, pull it together, be in the right here and now. You've got this. You can do this. God's in the lead. Just hold on to the steering wheel and just sit back and let it glide. And we get focused on outside of our box. We get focused on the ahead rather than in the moment. So really try to use your breath. And I love that inhale through the nose, bringing the breath in all the way through the nose, allowing your belly to fully rise, and then slowly exhaling out your mouth. Try it, and try to count to 10 as you bring that breath in. Bring the breath in, and slowly with control, exhale out for the count of 10. Do that several times, and you will find your calm, my friend. You will be back in the moment of the here and now. And this is true for our kids too, our kids who are struggling with tests. And my daughter right now is going through her college finals, so she's a stress basket. So I remind her yet again, she has the power to get back in the now. She's, focusing on the outcome and the grades and the how I'm going to get through this. Taking that salt bath, being in the moment, clearing her energy, the breath, maybe reading a fun book, stopping ourselves from getting out of control and keeping that fear really quiet with love. So try that out this holiday season, and I bet you're going to see a whole new side of how you can get through the holidays with as little stress as possible. Check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, let me check my emails and see if we have another question that came up. Melissa wrote in, she wants me to talk about, she said, maybe you could talk about yourself and how you came on your spiritual gifts. And that's interesting, Melissa, because it didn't just happen. It wasn't something I, went to school for or studied. I've had this gift my entire life. I just didn't know that it had a name, and I really didn't know how to grow it until I began to have time. When my kids got older, I was a stay-at-home mom at the time for 20 plus years, when I started to really finally have time for myself and start to meditate and do yoga and start to listen to those tones I kept hearing in my head but didn't know where they were coming from, because I was always so busy on the go. And this was true my whole life. I mean, I grew up in a family of 4 kids, and then I got married at a very young age. I was married right out of high school at the age of 20, and then I had my first baby, and then we proceeded to have 3 more children, so I have 4 children. And then we took in foster kids. And so I had, in that time, in 6-year period, I had 14 foster kids. So it was a revolving door of, energy and movement and nonstop. And then CCD and basketball games, and just always going. And my husband worked, full-time. He owned his own business. He still does, very early in the morning, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and he'd get home 7:30 at night. So essentially I was doing everything on my own, because by the time he would get home, there was no way he could drive the kids to a practice or anything, because he was just tired. So this was, an interesting time, but I was busy and I loved it and I thrived on it. And when the time came and my youngest was in school full-time and I had time to quiet, I would take myself to lunch, and this is when Spirit finally was able to get through and say, yeah, listen, it's quiet is pretty nice, isn't it? At a young age, if I reflect back, people thought I had a bad sense of judgment. Teachers, even my family, I'm sure, thought of this as well, because I would choose friends that maybe weren't of the highest caliber. But now I see that I chose people as friends because I saw pain, or I saw suffering, or I saw a need for love to enter their life, because I had this gift my entire life. And one story in particular I was thinking about today when I was doing my meditation was of this young boy, Edgar. And he was really definitely challenged, and he was not a nice boy. He was very mean. I think he would push people around, if I remember correctly, and he was pretty verbal as we got older. But I always saw something in him, and I never knew or understood what it was. But I knew that he needed a friend, and somebody just to be there. And even though he would be mean and often, push you away, there was something that I knew he just needed. So I just always kind of stood around. And circumstances came to find out his father had passed. I don't know if we were out of high school or we were still in high school when this had happened, but found out that he had been really abused as a child, physically and mentally. So he had some baggage, and I didn't know this at the time, but I guess I did know this because I knew he needed love. I knew he needed a continued person that would show him light, even if they pushed him away. I mean, even if he pushed them away, this person, I would just stand there and take it and be that person. So his life did turn around, and there were some good things eventually that came to his life. But it always touched me because I saw something in him, like I have many other people that I chose as friends. I saw tones around them, tones of the person they needed, the love that they needed, the light that they needed. When I was a little girl, one of the things I loved to do was I would write everybody notes, happy little notes, and I would just give them to whoever was around, maybe my parents' friends or my family members, and I would wrap up sometimes with these little notes, little gifts, little trinkets I'd find around the house. Maybe it was Parcheesi game pieces or the game pieces from the Monopoly set. I would just wrap these little things up, even my own toys, and I would give them away because I always wanted a piece of my love to go with that little note, because I knew the energy at a very young age, that this energy mattered, that it would carry on, and they would find some happiness. And people would open, and then you'd sometimes see a surprise, like, what is this? Or sometimes you'd be like, oh, it so touched them. And they would be so touched by that love. And one example of that is when I was a little girl, my brother and I used to get on the bus together. And our bus driver, Karen, was a little bit heavier, and all of the kids would pick on her. They were just so awful. You know how it is in middle school. Everybody's just so mean to each other. So they were so mean to this sweet bus driver, and they would, throw the paper balls at her and just be horrible. And we had this beautiful farmhouse, and across the road from us was a cow field, and they had these beautiful roses that would grow. So I picked some roses, my brother and I, we picked her some roses, and I wrote her this beautiful note, my little young scribble, just how beautiful she was, and how thankful we were for her. And we gave it to her that morning on the bus, and we had no idea how much she appreciated this, but she, time had gone by, she sent my mom a thank you note saying, how wonderful this was, that her children sent her this love, that, life had been really difficult, and these two little kids just touched her and made her day. So these things are important to our life, to our energy, right? How kind we can be. And when we can see another as we see ourselves, to see our reflection in them. Everybody needs love. And sometimes we just forget. We forget that we're all sensitive and we all have feelings. And we're all here to learn a very important lesson. And it is important that we love each other. And I'm getting really emotional now because it's just at this time of year, and with everything that's going on, I'm so saddened by the hate that's spewing. I'm so saddened by people who I'm so shocked that are spreading the negativity instead of the love. So I ask each and every one of us to take a moment, reflect, see where we can invite love back in, see where you can make a difference. And that is all that I have for you folks tonight. And I thank you so much for tuning in. And I look forward to next week as always. And I believe Judy's going to join me from the Warp View next week on the show. But I will let you know for sure. I will post it on Facebook, and you will see us next week on Angels Don't Lie on KBJB Radio. Have a fantabulous week. Thanks for listening.